Welcome back. Happening later today, President Trump set to hold a high-stakes meeting with congressional leadership. Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries will be there alongside Speaker Mike Johnson and Majority Leader John Thune in a last-ditch effort to prevent a government shutdown. Funding is set to run out tomorrow night at midnight. Democrats are looking to extend subsidies for Obamacare, which will expire at the end of the year, as well as making it easier for states to enroll illegal immigrants into taxpayer-funded health care. I spoke with the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, yesterday on Sunday Morning Futures on what to expect from today's meeting.
The purpose of the meeting is so that the president can assemble the four leaders. He's going to tell Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries to stop playing political games. What's really important to point out here, Maria, I'm glad you mentioned the national debt. You know, the statutes in federal law require Congress to do 12 separate appropriations bills every year. That's the only way to ensure stewardship of taxpayer funds, to spend less money and make government more responsible. They have already voted for these exact levels of spending. We're just keeping the doors open, but they want to shut it. And you know what they're going to jeopardize? Troops pay, okay? They're going to jeopardize WIC funding, Women, Infants, and Children's Nutrition Program, FEMA services, telemedicine and telehealth, all the rest. They're going to jeopardize all that for a political stunt.
Joining me now is Ohio Congressman Warren Davidson, a member of the House Financial Services Committee. Congressman, good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. Is this all about just going against Trump? Why jeopardize all of that?
Well, yeah, unless they come with a different position, they're signaling a clear intent to close down the government. They know that we're not going to agree to $1.5 trillion in new spending. We're not going to agree to undo what we just did with H.R. 1. So, we intentionally made it hard. Should be impossible for illegals to get Medicaid, for example. So we defunded NPR. We didn't accidentally defund NPR. They want that refunded. And I think they just want to reclaim some sort of brand. They think Obamacare is a winning message, and they want to keep the subsidies going that were pandemic level subsidies. Well, the pandemic's long since expired, and those aren't even payments to people that are true Medicaid recipients. Those are payments direct to the health insurance companies because there was a pandemic going on. And so I don't think they're going to change their position. I think they want the shutdown, and it is a political stunt, just as Speaker Johnson said.
How long do you expect a shutdown to last?
I'd be surprised if they go more than a few days, because it's not going to be popular with the public, and they know that this isn't like a Republican agenda bill that does the things I want, which is, all of our appropriations bills at a lower level with our policy riders. We want to push those through. And kudos to Chairman Tom Cole and the appropriators who passed all 12 bills through the Appropriations Committee. We need to get those across the floor of the House and over to the Senate. It's not what we've passed as a party line Republican platform. This is status quo funding from when Chuck Schumer was the Senate Majority Leader, and they're walking away from that.
Liz Speak, jump in here. How do you see it?
So, Congressman, Russ Vought, the head of the OMB last week, put around a memo basically threatening to take this opportunity of a shutdown to fire tens of thousands, possibly, of federal workers. Do you take that seriously? Do you think that would be popular with the public?
I think it'd be a mistake to not take Russ Vought seriously. He's a very effective director of OMB. He's got a clear set of objectives, and he does want to get a smaller, more focused government. And there are lots of parts of the federal government that Republicans feel like aren't efficient. And it's also very hard to take people out, even when they're not being productive employees. So this gives the secretaries and the departments, the agencies around the federal government, an opportunity to say, look, we need to pare down and do essential things. Let's take our high performers and keep them on board. And, we got to spend less money. So let's do it. I think that, it's a bit of lemonade if you close the government down. President Trump clearly said he doesn't want to. But, you can find some lemonade out of the lemons.
Let me move on to today's meeting. President Trump is also going to be meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at the White House today, as Gaza peace talks are reportedly in their final stages. The president released a 21-point peace plan establishing a new future for Gazans and Israelis. Here's Netanyahu's response yesterday on Fox News.
I hope we can make it a go because we want to free our hostages. We want to get rid of Hamas rule and have them disarmed, Gaza demilitarized, and a new future set up for Gazans and Israelis alike, and for the whole region.
What do you think, Congressman? Where does this go?
I thought your interview, Fox interview with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu yesterday was very good. And look, I was encouraged to see him receptive to President Trump's plan. I hope they have a very productive meeting this week. And, clearly, if you end the hostages, what's the objective for continuing to hold the hostages? In particular, hostages who've already passed away. They're dead, and they're not returning them to their family members. And so President Trump's laid out a clear path where Hamas doesn't govern Gaza, and this ends a lot of tragedy there. And, 2 years effectively since 10/7 massacre, and we have to have a just outcome there. Hamas can't stay in charge of Gaza, but it's time for this war to end.
By the way, this is not just a GOP plan. I spoke with Pennsylvania Senator John Fetterman yesterday, and he is firmly behind Israel. Here's what he said. Watch.
I do not think it's entirely appropriate to recognize a two-state solution. For me, my non-starter is send all those hostages home. And now, first, we're going to agree. We're going to disarm. How can you pretend that you're going to have any real peace in the region if Hamas is to occupy? I know that's put me kinds of as an outlier within the Democratic Party, but what history demonstrates is if you're willing to turn your back on the Jewish community, and now with Israel, I refuse to do that. And I do hope it does end.
By the way, Congressman, we've got the jobs report out on Friday. Do you think that the jobs report will be delayed if we're in a government shutdown?
I mean, I'd be surprised if it's delayed, but, we'll see what the economic reporting goes on, and, we'll see whether we're in a shutdown Friday. But, fundamentally, the good news is that President Trump is on the job. The administration's laser focused. And look, I think President Trump's very clear. He would prefer that the government stay open. But if it's not, I think they'll play it well, and we'll keep the country going in the right direction.
All right. We will leave it there. We'll be watching your work, Congressman. Good to see you this morning. Thank you.